All right, before I get into the review for Ultraman Blazar episode 2, I just want to point out it's Tuesday morning. 10 days ago, the first episode dropped on their YouTube channel, premiered. We got the English dub. Before I reviewed it, I said I want to watch subbed and the dub before I review it. I just did that with the second episode because I didn't have time. But the first episode's at 7.1 million views on Subarai's channel. So, like, just to give you a perspective of that, it's their highest viewed video probably in the last like 5 years. Because I was looking at the only other one they had was one of the Ultra Galaxy fight, the Absolute Conspiracy that got 10 million views a year ago. Other than that, nothing has came close to 7 million views in close to like 6 years. And that's crazy. Even right now, at the time of recording this, it's been 3 days since episode 2 dropped, and it's already at 1.8 million. This makes me like extremely happy because as an Ultraman fan, seeing this many people like the views and this that, I'm like, this is a big deal. All right. And even like with the Zet dub, like those were doing all right, but Blazer's just it's hitting good. Now I had to watch the English dub because I want if I'm gonna review it and talk about the episode, I want to watch it subbed and dubbed. Even though I don't treat the reviews for Ultraman like I do with Kamen Rider or Super Sentai. I'm not doing an episode breakdown. I'm not gonna go play by play or any of that stuff because I already do that. There's not gonna be clips or reactions. Uh, I will say, episode 2 continued the quality hype for me. I like that now we have the formation of SKaRD. We have Gento now leading it, and we get introduced to his team of like four other people. So this was more of like, okay, the first episode was kind of like, here's Gento, here's some world building. It was a nice hyped up fight episode. This one's more like, all right, let's get more into the core characters, a little peek of their personalities, and I thought it was really good. Uh, I did like our kaiju of the week. Uh, one of the things I do enjoy is how many new kaijus are being like debuted in this series. Because it's easy to go back to the ones that the staples, the ones we know and love as Ultraman fans. But like I was like, man, I want getting some new kaiju's. This week we got Gatos, which is more of like an aquatic kaiju. I do like in this world that this takes place in, like the kaiju's kind of have a mythos, or like I said in the first episode, like an urban legend. Like Ultraman was like an urban legend. They heard of it and they never seen it. Gatos was the same way. There's a fishing boat with an older fisherman with two younger ones, and he's like, they saw the sonar. He's like, it's Gatos, and they're like, oh, you always say it's Gatos. He doesn't exist, this and that. And he's like, no, when there's a lot of pollution in the ocean, or you make him angry, he appears. And I like that lore to it because now it's kind of like, okay, these monsters, there's a mythos to them. There's a subtle backstory, and I always enjoy that with kaiju's. I like it's one of the reasons why I like shows like Ultra Q, Neo Ultra Q. Those are like some of my favorite in the Ultra universe like shows, and they don't even have an Ultraman in it because it's all mythos and lore for these kaiju's and kaijins, and I'm all for it. I like that a lot. Um, I like some of the character development we get with Gento. He realizes when Gato shows up and he has to turn into Ultraman that it wasn't a dream. He did actually turn into Ultraman. We had little flashes earlier in the episode of him kind of like having these mental flashes of him going through what I would assume is like that mental portal when you do go from civilian to Ultraman. So I'm hoping that gets, touched on and brought up more. This time around, it was less of him being forced to use the device. He kind of figured it out himself and used it instead of in the first episode when, we saw the red spark energy kind of forcing his hand to trigger the transformation. Um, I'd like the fighting. The fight choreography is so good. I feel like Blazar, from an action standpoint, it's kind of like almost like a Muay Thai or an Indonesian type martial arts. I don't know the name. I'm bad with like martial arts names outside of like the staples that are talked about constantly. Um, Filming style's good too with the fights. Like I'm really digging it, and we got some humor. There's been humor throughout the episode, but one of the things that really got like a deep bellowing belly laugh out of me was during the fight. Gatos jumps back in the water, and Blazar summons his like energy spear, but he turns it into a fishing rod. It fishes Gatos out of the water like he's and instantly in my head I'm like, this is like going after that kingfish in Final Fantasy 15. Like I'm like, is he gonna? And then to make the comedy of that moment a little bit more, and this is something like I find funny. I don't know if everyone else did. So if you found this funny, let me know in the comments. Gatos gets launched up in the air and he throws his energy spear into Gatos's anus and out his mouth. So it kind of looks like a fish out of skewer, and then it literally cooks him, and then he explodes. And I could not stop laughing. Like, but not in a whole, this is like funny, stupid type of way. Like, no, this is entertaining. And I enjoyed it and love that in this show. So, uh, one of the things that I pre-ordered for a toy that I can't wait to get is the Earth Garon, and we actually got to see that at the end of this episode. And the main guy, I forgot his name, who basically put Gento in charge of SKaRD, gives him a new mission. They need to use Earth Garon to destroy a kaiju before Ultraman Blazar can. And in my head, I'm like, all right, this has to be a PR move. They have to get that public behind them. Like, hey, look, we don't need Ultraman. We could do this. But I can't wait to see that mecha in action. I like the design on it so much. You know me? If it's a big meaty kaiju and it's a big mecha, I'm all for it. Yeah, I'm gonna watch it. But some of the things like it was just a really good episode. I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to more of this dynamic of the SKaRD team. Was it Emmy? Is probably going to be one of my favorites. I like how she's like kind of like the humorous character, but like not in like a slapstick, like dumb humor. Like she's just that lighthearted, pleasant person who happens to be like her delivery of the lines and facial expression, what she says is that's where the comedy is. So she's probably one of the characters I'm really looking forward to learn more about, especially with her dynamic with Gento, who's very stern. And I do like how they also, in this world of all these different people who are different branches of special ops and military, Gento's like a known name. It's almost like he's like a celebrity in their like field, and he's like well respected. So I'm like, this is a nice change of pace. Obviously, Gento has a family, so I'm curious what that's gonna be. They're gonna be introduced. I assume probably episode 3 or 4, because we just got the team introduced. So I'm looking forward to all this balance and everything else, and also Gento learning more about Blazar and his connection and everything else. But this was a really good episode. I really enjoyed it. I think as of right now, with the views in this and that, like I'm hard pressed to say this is being very well received, and I'm hoping episode 2 hits 7 mil for views. I can only imagine what this would do for the future of Subaraya from a Western release standpoint if something like Blazar for all 25 episodes is hitting, 8 mil. And I don't know what their time frame is, because I know before when stuff was going live, they would take stuff down after like 2 weeks. So I don't know if they're just going to keep the episodes up or not. So that's going to play into it too, because I'm wondering if they're working out a new deal with like Mill Creek or someone else, because I would like some of the newer generation Ultramans to come out on Blu-ray. But that's obviously another story for another time. But let me know in the comments below what you thought of Ultraman Blazar Episode 2. I'm working on a video right now going over the Shin Ultraman Blu-ray, not just the issues, but what's been released for resolving them. So be on the lookout for that. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. I'm going to be working on some other Ultraman content as well. If you could see right up above me, behind my head, I got that shelf full of manga and some statues. I am going to be working on some other videos. So I thank you guys for watching. and I'll see you guys in the next one.